Hey everybody, this is Collector Dude. I'm back again. I'm going to try to do another reading for Infinite Dark now. Issue number 1. I like doing these stories. The space stories, the science fiction stories, the horror stories, the scary stuff, and stuff like that. It's really cool. As long as I can try to get the voices done and everything, it's fun. But this is Infinite Dark from Top Cow. Infinite Dark. Writer, Ryan Cady. Artist, Andrea Moody. Colorist, K. Michael Russell. Letterer, Troy Pateri of A Larger World. Story editor, Alex Liu. Routine simulation, therapy session number 39. Subject security, Director Diva Harrow. Are you comfortable? No. But let's go anyway. Very well. Picking up where we left off. What memories are at the forefront of your mind? The end of the universe. I'm afraid you'll have to be more specific. Staff had been on board the Orpheus for months, preparing, waiting. Transmissions and scans showed that entropic decay was accelerating quicker than even our worst expectations. Atoms breaking and space freezing from the outside of the universe in. Heat death. But here they'd be safe, right? We could protect them from the cold black. I was glued to the transmissions for weeks, watching those colony ships heading our way. How many were there at the start? Thousands. None of them ever even got close. Every human civilization in the galaxy knew our location, but couldn't build the ships fast enough. Once the Orpheus was completed, we were too far out, built in pure vacuum, and they were too slow, too late. And at the end, it wasn't actually entropy that destroyed the fleet. They overclocked their engines and exploded just trying to outrun it. A few sessions ago, you asked me if I had faith. I said I wasn't religious, and that's true. But before this, I used to believe in us. One might argue that our very location, a means of surviving the end of reality itself, is the pinnacle of a human achievement. Isn't that worth putting faith into? We built this place to save human lives, but we couldn't even get them here. I watched the transmissions of those colony ships exploding, and I imagined the people on board. A little girl, or an old man, or some woman just like me. Every one of them lost. This doesn't feel like an achievement to me. It feels like a tombstone. I don't know why I'm being so maudlin. We're failures, not saviors. Begging your pardon, Director, but in the 2 years since you've been in charge of this station's security, you've yet to result in anything I would consider failure. Thank you, Smith. You're kind for a virtual intelligence who's probably focused on 20 other things while we talk. 27. And I've passed this session's report on to Dr. Kalos. Usually you don't like me to cut things this early. Bi-weekly therapy in the stimulation chamber mandatory for every staff member on board. 2 hours a month, I have to face a whole universe versus worth of irrational survivor's guilt. In this case, it seemed necessary. We have company. Maybe that's the point. Unload on the AI and not my subordinates. Sebastian? Sorry for the interruption, Director. Aren't you supposed to be on break? You said I'm in charge when you're off the clock. I was playing a sim, but I think Sebastian clings to the job because it makes sense when nothing else does. Director, something's happened. I was a cop for near a decade before launch. As quiet as it is here, the work is a way to reclaim some normalcy, keep the darkness at bay. You don't look so good. As soon as Smith passed the alert on to me, I gathered the rest of the security force. Director, Diva, this is above my pay grade, you know. He's making me nervous. Our time since launch has been very quiet. A handful of arrests, none of them violent. Just tell me what you're talking about. It's one of the other 26 things I was focused on during your therapy, Dr. Rao. Will someone tell me what's going on? The board of directors will explain everything. They need to speak with you right away. Thank you, Smith. We can take it from here. What's this about? Our year-end assessment is 2 weeks away. I hope they're not going to chew us out. There's Director Tennant and Director Kalos. But what about Shay? Director Tennant, perhaps it'd be best if this wasn't done in the middle of a locker room. Ike is right. Take a lift to the command deck right away. We can discuss this better in person. What the heck is going on? Deva, this isn't the time for another spirited debate. This is different. And maybe you ought to send a team out to Housing Sector 7, Apartment 19. 19? That's... Sebastian, take a squad. I'll grab a lift. I read about a monument built long ago, back on Earth where we came from. There was a man whose wife died, and in her honor, he wanted to build the grandest tomb in history, and he did. But in the years it took to finish the perfect tomb, the body had gone missing. No one could find it, and the great mausoleum remained an empty wonder. That's what the Orpheus feels like. Humanity's perfect tomb, outwitting the end of all things, the ultimate habitat. But no one on board but the people who built it left to appreciate the dang thing. I am the security director for this station. I am responsible for the protection of the last 2,000 human beings in existence. How the crap was I not told about this immediately? Dang it, you know better than to... No, it's okay. Let her get it out. Thank you, Director of Human Resources. I'm glad you and the Director of Project Management are okay with me voicing my frustration with the fact that you tried to go over my head. When are you going to accept that we're a team, Diva? A board? Ike and I aren't conspiring against you. You were in therapy. We told you as soon as we could. Could have fooled me. When's the last time I wasn't outvoted 3-1 in a board decision? We're not keeping anything from you. Director Shay's assistant entered his apartment and alerted us about the situation. You mean the situation in which our tech director, Alvin Shy, the chief techno-linguist on this station, a man capable of practically rewriting the Orpheus core code, spontaneously decided to abduct his neighbor Jaleel Evanson, and you all waited hours to alert me and the rest of security? It's not like he's got anywhere to run. I'm sure your team has. Let's see. Sebastian? It's cold here, Director. Spoke to the assistant who found the scene. Definite signs of a struggle. Shy appears to have cracked Evanson's door lock. Maybe caught him unawares. But there's no trail. Enough evidence to confirm Evanson was taken unwillingly and some code tampering that Smith confirms was Shy's work. But the director covered everything else up. He could be anywhere, Diva. We would know exactly where he is if you hadn't fought me on the advanced surveillance initiatives. Not this again. I am not turning the last pocket of reality into a blanking police state just so you can feel more in control. Pardon the interruption, but if I may nip this argument in the bud, I'm quite certain I've found him. Director Shy was clever enough to eliminate the travel records from my memory as he made off with poor Mr. Everson. But he can't mask the small amount of power that's currently being siphoned to this sector. Not now that I'm actively searching. A perfect hiding place, and it's possible he's been sneaking off under our noses for some time. Clever man. No wonder. With no lift records, but what's he up to down there? And why take Evanson? I'm taking a team and heading there myself. Diva, wait, let's... Sebastian, we're going after Shy. Grab a lift and meet me. Where? The only place left in existence. The dark sector. It looks like the rest of the station. Same architecture, same physics, same foliage. Why should it look any different? We call it the dark sector and seal it off only because there's no point in running power and resources to parts of the station with no people living in them. The Orpheus was designed to hold up upwards of 15,000 people. Right now, we're operating with less than 20% of that. It's the same as the rest of the station. A ghost town. Smith here. Switching to private localized chat. This is technically a public area. As you know, this sector maintains only minimal power and life support, and is generally locked and inaccessible without command deck permission. Dr. Shy appears to have bypassed my watchdog protocols. He's been mucking around with Sector's neighborhood code. He can do that? Techno-linguists like him speak computer code better than you speak standard language. What he's doing is telling me a very convincing lie. Apologies, Director Harrell, but the command deck would like a word. Of course they would. What's going on down there? Any sign of them? Listen, Diva. I pulled up Alvin's psych profiles from before the project's launch and over the past 2 years. The thing is, he seems to be perfectly healthy, so I'm not so sure about that. We just found Jaleel Evanson. "2 years? That writing, is that some kind of alien language?" There's no such... What was that? Over here. I got him. It's Shy. Stand down, Alvin. You just can't see. You'd be doing it too if you could see. Have to show you. Make you understand. Like it made me understand. Make you see. My heart is beating out of a snare drum pace. I have to catch him. Director Harrell, I'd advise against pursuing further. We're all that's left, floating out here alone in the infinite dark. How can you know that, understand that, and still take a human life? He's down, Smith. Yes, but he's gone down. Inside the sector's airlock. Dang it, Smith. Get these open now. I'm hard at it, Director, but his workarounds are quite specific. I may need another minute. I understand it, so I had to show you all. It's out there. Dang you. Don't make me shoot you again, Alvin. There's already one dead man in the ship. There is no it. There is nothing beyond the walls of the Orpheus. The universe is ended. Yes, but there it is, from beyond. It wants us all. There's nothing out there, dang it. It's too easy for me to shoot him again. I'm seeing red and I don't regret the shot, even when he blows the airlock and dooms us both. I want you to see. Director, I have the airlock closed in a second. Hold on, please. Don't worry. Alvin starts to float away, and so does all my rage. And the fear rushes in. I have to repeat to myself like a mantra. There's nothing out there. No stars. No planets. No atoms. Just the black. Isn't that enough to be afraid of? Just want you to see me. Continued. Next issue, Infinite Dark number 2, issue 2. Dispatches from the Void. Horror can be a comfort. It sounds strange, but even reading this final proof of this first issue, I find my anxieties about its launch, the maddening imposter syndrome that so many creators struggle with, taking a back seat. In the wake of a dead universe, in the face of a brutal murder and a shadowy space station, as a silhouette from beyond the stars reaches out a hand to threaten the last human souls in existence. It's all too easy to lose myself in those big primal terrors and let the day-to-day human problems fade away for a little while. I started writing Infinite Dark in June 2017, at that point in the midst of the worst depression in my life. I moved to New York City for reasons that felt all wrong, and I was feeling more and more like I'd made choices that were dooming me to feeling miserable and low and terrified of everything every day. I didn't know what to do or how to get out of it, but I knew what I needed to escape the cold, miserable feeling, and more so, that I needed to survive. So I worked on it, and I made some dramatic changes. And all the while, I was plugging away at the series. I got better, of course, not all the way, but better. And helping me along the way wasn't this project, but my old frightful friends, the Alien franchise, Stephen King novels, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the Outlast games, and every spine-tingling, nightmare-inducing slice of spooky media I could get my hands on. I hope bits of them made it in here too, even as they helped coax me out of my own rock bottom. Hopefully I've been able to show that strange comfort in Infinite Dark, the knife edge between terror and wonder that something truly horrifying can bring. The fascination we have when facing down something that must not be merely endured or defeated but survived. When we first meet Diva in this issue, she's in a bleak place. Many of the residents in this void ship are. She's carrying tons of irrational survivor's guilt. She lashes out at her friends and coworkers and berates herself later. Lives with the day-to-day paranoia and maddening anxiety. And outside of every wall and window is the black, the void composed of pure entropy, reminding her what's at stake, what she's outlived and enduring, but is still there waiting for her should she fail. And then along comes an entity. That was all a bit rambly, but what I'm trying to get across with this section is not just that working on this book was transformative for me when I was in a dark place, although very much was, but more so that for some of us, horror is a kind of balm for our wounded psyches. For so many of my friends who live or die by the genre, we readily think of times when some film or fiction with a monster or a murderer has helped us find new perspective on our depression, or give strange face to our anxiety, or even just give us some blessed big distraction when it seems like our own brains are more threatening than anything on the screen could be. I've done my best to try and make that somewhat tangible for the characters in Infinite Dark, and nothing would please me more than to hear that someone was helped or distracted by my spooky little book. But this section, what I'm calling Dispatches from the Void, is for testimonials, a little more in the abstract, a little rambly. Here's some of the brightest and best horror writers and readers I know are going to talk about the two big themes at play in this book, horror as a genre and mental health as a monster, and how they intersected in their own lives. And in all likelihood, they'll do a much better job than I have. So keep an eye on this space, and if you have your own thoughts on the matter, or just want to say something about the book in general, email submissions at topkill.com with Dispatches from the Void in the subject line, marked OK to print. Thanks for reading, and I'll leave you with this comforting thought. One day the universe will run out of time, and all reactions will stop as energy dwindles and all atoms freeze and crack. That is heat death, and it is inevitable and terrifying. But lucky for you, you will be long, long dead before that happens. Ryan Cady. All these guys here. You see them here. Cool. All right. There's more stuff he wrote. In the back here. This is cool. Well, that's it. I don't know if you want me to read this or not. I was wondering whether I should read it or not. What's in an abyss? Everything. Just a second. Hey, I didn't want this to go real long, but I'm just going to go through these a little bit. So you can see Ryan Cady. Looks like he wrote horror fiction. He's based out of Southern California. He's graduate of the DC Comics Talent Development Workshop. And he wrote for Warframe, Magdalena, and The Punisher. And you see terrible fast food products for the DOC Weekly remain his greatest creative triumph. Andrea Moody is an Italian artist who has worked in the comic book world for 25 years. He studied at the comics school Brescia and has worked with such U.S. publishers as Marvel, DC, and Dark Horse, Vertigo, IDW, and Boom Studios, Dynamite, Stella, Adaptive, and many more. Wow. You can look at these two if you're looking at this. K. Michael Russell has been working as a comic book color artist since 2011. He worked with Glitter Bomb and Wayward. Two good stories. I saw Wayward. I have a few of those. Thunderbolts writer Jim Zub. Hack Slash Judge Dredd. Ooh. YouTube channel. He said coloringcomics.com and maintains a YouTube channel dedicated to coloring tutorials. He has 2 cats. He lives with Tina, his wife, for 16 years. One's a jerk, he says. One of the cats. That's funny. Troy Pateri, Dave Lampier, and Joshua Cozine are collectively known as A Larger World Studios. They've lettered everything from the Avengers, Iron Man, Wolverine, Amazing Spider-Man, and X-Men. Cool. Witchblade, Cyberforce, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Brave and the Bold. They can be reached at studio at alargerworld.com for your lettering and design needs. This was something here too. Whistling in the Abyss. It said, the heat death of the universe scares the crap out of Ryan Cady. And why shouldn't it? It's scary stuff. I imagine a galaxy, a universe populated by our descendants, he says. And then I started researching entropy, and oh boy, a no-win situation, the collapse of all existence. That's bleak as heck. The theory of universal heat death entails a complicated process, and apologies to any physicist reading, whereby the cosmos approaches a period of energy's even distribution, aka the point of total thermodynamic entropy. In this moment, all energetic reactions throughout the universe cease, and the universe stops dead in its tracks. Wow. Let me see, I'll read this thing here. We know that the stars we see are just a reflection of something dead. So the point is, where are we going and why? Diva is kind of a powder keg, and following the events of the first issue, the fuse is lit. The collapse of all existence, that's bleak as heck. And above is series writer Ryan Cady and series artist Andrea Moody. Up here. Concept art there and there. It's really cool. There's so many different things. He talks about different stuff in here. And all here. Fear of cosmic destruction may have been the impotence of Cady and Moody's tale, but it's not the only fear that Cady must contend with. Despite working on licensed projects for years, Infinite Dark represents his first major fray in the creator-owned comics. For hire work, there's always a target to aim for, a bullseye, and while throwing a lot of yourself out there, you've got these people to please and these structures already in place. With creator-owned, it feels pure, more free for sure. But that also means that we're only really answerable to ourselves. Everything, but that's it. I hope you like the book and everything. I try not to make it too long and everything so you could get through it, but I wanted to go through a little bit of the back of the book too and show you that. But that's Infinite Dark. Let me know what you think. I'll try to do more, everything. And if I start reading everything, maybe I'll just maybe read everything from now on, so you have the whole book like you read it yourself. But thank you very much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night. Collector Dude is out.